All right, Larry Krueger here from the Pig and a Pickle Krug Show with a little San Francisco Giant video. The baseball trade deadline is drawing closer, about a week away. What are the Giants going to do? The Orioles are rumored to be after two big Giant pitchers. We'll talk a little bit about what the Orioles potentially have to offer and the likelihood of that deal coming up next. But first, we're brought to you by Pig and a Pickle, the best barbecue in all of Northern California. Check them out. They're in Corte Madera and Emeryville. They're open 7 days a week from 11 a.m. till 8 p.m. or until they run out. Go say hi to Damon. Go say hi to Mary, the owners of Pig and a Pickle. Go get some brisket and tell them the Krug sent you. And this video is also brought to you by our good friends at Underdog Fantasy. Check the link in the description. Use the promo code Krug, K-R-U-E-G, and they will match you up to your first $100. Well, some interesting rumors going around this time of year with the Major League Baseball trade deadline, coming up in about a week. The Giants going to be buyers or they're going to be sellers. John Heyman thinks they're more likely to be buyers, that they consider themselves in the race and than sellers. But I think this is another year where we could see them do a little bit of both. A little buying, a little selling. I think that makes sense. Are they there yet? No, they don't. What they don't need to do is trade prospects for guys that are free agents at the end of the year. What they do need to do is continue to build their roster, both on the mound and in the lineup, and be open-minded about what kinds of trades they can make, either buying trades or selling trades that can help them achieve that goal, and that's build their team up for 2025 and beyond. If the Giants are going to the playoffs this year, they're going to get that third wild card spot and likely get bounced early. They're building. They're still building, and they've got a young core. They've got some really exciting young players coming. We saw that this year, and I think if they can continue down that road momentum-wise, I think Giants fans will give Farhan Zaidi a little bit more rope. We'll see if the Giants ownership does, but I think the Giants fans would be willing to do it if he showed that he could make some significant additions at the trade deadline. All right, the Baltimore Orioles have been better than a lot of people thought they were going to be. Their starting lineup is full of all kinds of future superstars that are playing incredible ball. I mean, they've got some of the great young players in the game right now. Gunnar Henderson, Adley Rutschman, Jordan Westberg. They really have a ton of great players, and they've got a great chance of making some noise in the playoffs this year. And they may want Camilo Doval. Bob Nightingale recently wrote on the fact that Doval, the thought is that maybe there's an increasing possibility of him being traded before the deadline, that he may be available. He was never mentioned at the beginning of the season due to his team control, but the Giants may look into dealing him, according to Nightingale. And Nightingale wrote, if the Giants sell at the trade deadline, teams will pounce on 27-year-old closer Camilo Doval, despite the fact that he has struggled. Doval's having a pretty decent year. His ERA is on the wrong side of 4. His whip is over 1.50 at this point, but he's got just a ridiculous 90-mile-an-hour slider, cutter, can throw over 100 miles an hour. He's got 3 more years of team control. The Giants don't need to trade this guy, and trading him makes no sense at all unless they get a good haul in return. I mean, they should entertain the idea of moving Doval, but they better not move him unless they get great value. He's got the potential to be one of the best relievers in the big leagues and to be very cost effective as well for the next 5 years or so. So, you look at the talent the Orioles have, and they have the talent. Now, this one article is projecting that the Orioles would trade a couple of their prospects. Mac Horvath, a double-A or an A-ball second baseman, third baseman, who's 22, would be one of the guys in the deal. Based on what I'm reading here, that Horvath would, he's considered a talented infielder. He's hitting 259 this year, 368 on base, and 481 slug. So, the Orioles already have Gunnar Henderson and Jordan Westberg, and they've got a plethora of top prospects to play the infield. So there's no future for Horvath with the team. He's blocked. The other guy is a guy named Bright, who is 23. And he is, let's see where he's rated on their prospect list. Trace Bright is ranked 15th. So the Giants would be getting their 10th and 15th rated prospect for Camilo Doval. And Bright is a 23-year-old pitcher who's been Double-A, 6'4" righty, who's 23, as I said, and he's expected up by 2025. Horvath by 2026. Okay, so that's the rumor right now that those two guys, Bright, I guess, has promise. He's 0-9 this year, which always makes you go, "What?" Bright is 0-9, but he's only allowed 3 runs in a start 3 times this season. So he's been on a strict pitch count. So anyway, they're saying that the Orioles have, deep prospect group, and they can go after, a player like, like Camilo Doval and potentially land him. The other thing, there's an article out right now about the 3 teams to watch if the Giants decide to shop Blake Snell. And on that list are the Dodgers. And I just can't picture the Giants trading anything to the Dodgers, to be honest, but Blake Snell especially. Also, the Yankees are on this list. They have the great Jason Dominguez. I don't know if they're willing to move him, but the Yankees also will probably want Matt Chapman because they have a hole at third base. But the Orioles have also been rumored to be interested in top-end starting pitching, and Garrett Crochet of the White Sox and Tarek Skubal of the Tigers are 2 of the other names they've been kicking tires on ahead of the deadline. And, Snell would be a lot cheaper to acquire than Skubal or Crochet prospect-wise. And if the Orioles believe that Snell can, get a season on track and have a big second half, they could be a serious contender for him. Okay, so I bring this up because, to me, it's interesting. What do the Giants do at the trade deadline, and do they make a move? Well, I was watching the other day the baseball futures game, and just watching the Orioles, they have a prospect that's ranked 2nd on their list. His name's Samuel Basallo, and he's a catcher from the DR. And this guy's, he's their number 2 prospect overall. He's considered the number 12 prospect in all of MLB. And he's a rare hitter. I mean, this guy's a hitter with power. He's a lefty. On the 20-80 scale of scouting, they give him a 60 for power, a 60 for arm strength behind the plate, and a 60 for his hit tool. He's a 6'4", 180-pound lefty hitting catcher who's 19. And the guy's hitting 277 right now in Double-A at 19, but he's blocked in the big leagues by Adley Rutschman. And to me, this guy is the guy. He's playing for the Bowie Bay Sox right now. This is the guy to go after. I mean, if I were the Giants, I would approach the Orioles and just say, hey, you know what? You want Doval? You want Snell? How about this? You can have them both. We want Samuel Basallo. And just drive a hard bargain. This kid Basallo is the real deal. Mike Elias took over as the GM of the Orioles, and his whole goal was to get the Orioles, who had really been totally dormant in the international market, to get active bidding for the best players in the international market. And Basallo was one of Elias's first targets. They paid him a $1.3 million bonus to sign in January of 2021. And he showed glimpses of potential in the Dominican Summer League that year. And then he played in the Florida Complex League the following year. And he burst on the scene and posted a 953 OPS, reaching Double-A by the age of 19. So, this guy's offensive ceiling is off the charts. He's a left-handed hitter who can hit the ball incredibly hard. He's got major exit velo. He's got a great approach at the plate for 19. I mean, he really looks veteran at the plate. He's a really, really dangerous hitter with strong hands. He's got a simple setup, and he just drives the baseball. He also is very polished. He knows the strike zone. He draws walks. This guy's he had 20 home runs in 2023, and they say there's all kinds of power behind that. So they're not sure if he's going to stick behind the plate. But he's got a plus arm. He threw out 33.1% of potential base stealers last year. They say there's work to be done on his overall receiving, but his bat profile you can play this kid at first or DH him. I mean, they've got Adley Rushman behind the dish in Baltimore. He ain't going anywhere anytime soon. So this kid's blocked, and he's a 19-year-old, 6'4", awesome hitting lefty catcher. And the Giants farm system now, they kind of are thin on catching. Now they've got Bailey, so they don't really need Basallo behind the plate. But, this kid's such a hitter. And watching him in the futures game, I mean, he hit one out to left center. I mean, this kid's got power. He's a hitter. He's 19. I mean, this kid's a blue chipper. And maybe you play him behind the plate. Maybe you play him at first. Maybe you DH him. But you know what? This kind of left-handed hitter, this is the kind of hitter that you have not been able to develop. Samuel Basallo, Orioles' second best hitter. As I said, blocked by Adley Rushman, and they want Blake Snell, and they want Camilo Doval, and this would be an incredibly high price to pay. But this is the difference-making kind of player that I want to see Farhan Zaidi acquire. Basallo is 19 in the futures game. He's probably going to be up definitely in 2025. And this is a guy who could hit 3, 4, 5 in your lineup for the next decade. And you want to keep Bailey behind the plate? Keep Bailey behind the plate. Play this guy at first. You want to keep, you want to trade for a first baseman or go with Bryce Eldridge eventually? Have Basallo DH. If you want to let him, share the catching duties with Bailey, now you got two great catchers. You can never have enough great catchers. But this guy's bat, forget what position he plays. Just think of just a 6'4" great hitter who's 19, who you might be able to get at a trade deadline deal because the Orioles have an incredibly deep farm system. Jackson Holiday, Kobe Mayo, Enrique Bradfield Jr., Connor Norby. I mean, they got a bunch of guys. And Basallo is their second-rated prospect. That if I'm Farhan, that's the guy I'm going after. You want Snell, you want Doval, fine. I want Samuel Basallo. Let's make a deal. Farhan, I hope you're listening. I hope you're watching. Go get me Samuel Basallo out of Baltimore. I don't love the idea of moving Doval. I don't love the idea of moving Snell, but I love the idea of trading both those guys to Baltimore and getting a future all-star left-handed hitting catcher like Samuel Basallo and continuing to build your next great championship team. Basallo could be a foundation piece for the middle of your lineup, for the next team that you develop that's good enough to go to the World Series. So I'd like to see the Giants continue to build. And if they traded for a cost-controlled hitter or two, I'd love it. And if they traded a couple high-end pitchers for a high-end prospect like this kid Basallo, I'd love it even more. Tell me what you think in the comments below. Thanks to Pig and a Pickle for being the title sponsor of the Krug Show. Thanks to Underdog Fantasy for sponsoring this video. Thanks to all of you guys for supporting the Krug Show on YouTube.